When I was 18 years old, I went to the pound to get a dog. I had just finished my basketball career. I thought I would be playing junior college and then maybe overseas. But I had two knee surgeries and then I had an L5 pars defect. So my knees were shot and I had a lower back fracture. So it was done. So, to kind of, help me out a little bit mentally, my mom was like, why don't you get a dog? We'll pay for it. Go to the pound. It'll be like 150, 200 bucks for a dog. We'd like to give you that gift. And I was like, you know what? That would be awesome. So I went to the pound and I went for a week and then I didn't really see anything that I liked, right? So I went back for another week and I ended up figuring out that the schedule to get a dog at the pound would be they intake them and then they don't allow you to see them until they've been properly vetted and made sure that they don't belong to anyone, make sure they don't have chips in them. And all this process takes a couple days, make sure they're up to date on their shots and ready to go. And so basically one day, and also when they are ready to go, they put it on the website at 8 p.m. the day before they're live, right? So I just kept going. And then one day I saw a dog that I really liked and I couldn't get a hold of him because, he was in like a different area, but I could see him. I was like, that dog looks awesome. So I kept checking the website every night, and after about a month or so of going, he was finally live. Okay, so he's live at 8 p.m. I'm like, Mom, I'm not going to school in the morning. I'm going to get my dog. Okay, so I go. So I drove to the pound. By the way, this is the Orange County Pound in Southern California. And I go, and he's there. And we go up to him, we're in line. There's a line, by the way, when you're first getting into the pound in the morning because people are waiting to get their pets too. And he was leaning against the fence, smiling, happy. And I was like, this is him. This is the guy, immediately just, I could tell. And so and so we went and we got the dog. Everything was good. And I couldn't get him that day because there's paperwork and all those things. So I had to go back to school. But the following day, we were allowed to go pick him up. So my parents went and picked him up. So the reason why I'm sharing this story is that it took me about a month to go to the pound and pick out a pound dog and rescue him, right? And he's the best dog ever. And people always say, I can't believe how well behaved your dog is. I never hear him bark. He's super friendly, really well trained in the house, never has problems, just an all around great dog. And I always say, yeah, we got super lucky, so grateful, But the problem is, if you don't give yourself credit when you actually do put the work in to get a result, then you no longer appreciate yourself, but you no longer trust yourself or give yourself credit where it's due. And because of that, you put the locus of control externally instead of internally. I should give myself credit that I busted my ass to make sure that I got that dog and I picked out a great dog and I did my research and not just say, I guess we got lucky. Obviously, luck is always going to be a factor. But if you do that for everything and you don't give yourself credit, then when things happen to you that actually are outside of your control or negative or any of these things, you're gonna be like, that's just the way that life goes. But you need to give yourself credit so that you can actually appreciate the things that you've done for yourself. And so every time that you hear someone and they say things like, oh, I just got lucky, or it's this or it's that, it's actually pretty dangerous to do that. I've been doing that recently and it's caused me more harm than good. Sometimes if you do bust your ass and you do work really hard and you are focused and you do get the results that you're trying to get, maybe it's not luck, and there are certain things like where you're born, who you're born to, where you go to school, who your friends are, a lot of things you can't necessarily control. But everyone has situations like that and everyone has a different hand of cards. And ultimately making the most of them is up to you. It's your internal locus of control that's going to make it important for you. That ultimately is going to decide where you end up in life. Okay, so there's this thing called the locus of control, and there's internal and there's external. It looks like this. So the internal locus of control means you believe in your own destiny. You're in control of it. On top of that, anything that happens to you in your life, you take personal responsibility for. So you have responsibility and destiny. And And this leads you to believe that your success is because of you, which is super important, because if you think your success is not from you, you're going to squander your success when it comes to you. I've done this before. And I actually noticed this because people kept asking me, how'd you get so lucky with your dog? And it's like, I guess I got lucky, And instead of, it's like, I actually worked really hard to get that dog, versus most people just go to the pound and pick one out. And that's why the dog is good. I did that. It's in my control. And when you give yourself that power for things that you truly deserve, like I do deserve to say that, then you give yourself credit. And you have to give yourself credit before it's too late. And versus external, you believe that it's outside of your control. So it's anything that happens to you, whether it be good or bad, is not because of you. And so the problem with this, again, is that let's say you become successful. Let's take my situation, because honestly, I'm just going to be truthful here. I've had success. A lot of it has been from my own things that I've done, but some of it has not. And I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So I've worked as a content creator, posting literally thousands of videos now for the past 5 years of my life. And 2023 is when I started to get really paid for it, right? So about 2 years of me doing business in social media. And how this looks is I've posted thousands of videos. I've spent thousands of hours. For all those videos, I have tried to make a 1% improvement on each video over time. And because of that, I have built a pretty good career for myself. But what ended up happening is I started to, instead of having this internal locus of control, I worked really hard at this. I'm in control of how I look. I'm in control of my relationships. I'm in control of my business and my success. I started thinking, damn, life's gone pretty well for me, And you'll think about your friends that you grew up with in high school and things like that, and you'll feel a little bit guilty. And that guilt can sometimes lead to external locus of control, because instead of being like, I did this, I did that, etc., I deserve what's happening to me, you start thinking, man, it's unfortunate what happened to my friends. You hang out with your friends, you're like, yeah, well, I just got lucky. You don't want to just show off. Like, you want to be like, things just happened how they happened. Like, I tried, you tried, I just got lucky. You don't want to put it on them, but it is on them. And you can't help people when it's on them. You can only help yourself, right? So what ends up happening here is, because you start putting everything externally, like all these things and not giving yourself credit for these things, what's going to happen is you're going to squander your success. I've done this. In January, I hit an 80K month. $80,000 in a single month. Okay. This is, basically $1 million a year in theory. And I did this at I was 25, 26 in January. So quarter life crisis essentially. And I'm hitting like the biggest number that I didn't even know was like, I could do that. Right. But what ended up happening is I started feeling like a little bit guilty. I went back to California, and I honestly just, I kind of stopped running my business how I should. I wasn't aggressive. I wasn't playing hardball. I wasn't playing to win. And so I ended up shutting this business down. And obviously, before I shut it down, I kind of stopped posting. I stopped being aggressive. And ultimately, I stopped being a leader to my sales team, to my fulfillment team, to my coaches, to pretty much everyone, to my client success managers, everyone on my team. I stopped being a leader because I honestly kind of felt a little bit bad about this number, right? Because in 2022, when I graduated college, basically all of 2023, I was working a remote sales job prior to content taking off, and I was making $52,000 per year. And in January, I did 80K. And so I just felt guilty. I felt bad. And I started saying, well, I got lucky, or things worked out for me. And that's actually, yes, there's always luck involved. But if you think that way, you're going to severely hurt your career. And so all this went down to zero. This is now $0 per month in business. $0. That's embarrassing, right? But it didn't have to happen like that. It's just because I started saying every reason I'm successful is because of things I couldn't control. Well, that's not true. I've been successful because I'm a really, really hard worker. I really understand content. I've spent thousands of hours busting my ass to get to this point, and I've helped hundreds of people become UGC creators, get brand deals. There's one guy in my community that did like 28 brand deals from our community in 6 months, something crazy like that. Like, I've made people really good money over time, and I should be proud of that. But instead, what ended up happening is I felt genuinely bad about it. And that's just what's going to happen unless you really... Being over the top humble is not good. Being completely aware is good. Okay, so the things that you do, take credit for them, or you're going to lose your 80K a month business just like I did. Now I'm building it back up because I've put myself back in the driver's seat, and I've gone back to this internal locus of control. And this internal locus of control is ultimately how you win in life. There's this book called Hardball. And I've been reading Hardball, and it's part of the reason why this video is inspired. And on the cover of the book, there's subtext, and it says, are you playing to play or are you playing to win? And if you're playing to play, you're gonna get rolled by the entire world. Your competition, you're gonna get rolled. And that's what I was doing. I was like, well, I can pretty much be on autopilot and chill. That's just not how it works. If you're not constantly trying to achieve things and grind and be the best in the world, you're gonna get replaced. You're gonna get run over. No one will remember you. Your business is gonna go to shit. And ultimately, it's all gonna be for nothing, okay? And ultimately, it all is for nothing. But let it be for nothing at the end of your life once you've taken care of everyone, employed a lot of people, given people opportunity, made the world a better place, donate meals to people, give money to charity, give money to your church, go on mission trips. Once you have money to do all those things, I think you can take your foot off the gas. But when you're 26 in your prime and you feel guilty about it, that's kind of being a pussy, which is what I was doing. So what it comes down to ultimately is this internal versus external locus of control. And you have to understand that everything is internal. Rockefeller talks about this. He says people who are born at the bottom are destined to stay at the bottom. People who are born at the top are destined to stay at the top. But it's not because of external factors. It's because of how they operate day to day. He says at the same time, there will be people who will succeed because of those upbringings, not in spite of, because of those upbringings. People will go from the bottom to the top because they have that internal locus of control and they see what's around them and they make changes to their life. So internal control, external control. Internal, you'll grow, you'll adapt, you'll succeed. External control, you're responsive, you lack accountability, and ultimately you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. And so I just want to share that with you guys because I have been there. I've seen the highs and the lows, and now my foot is on the gas as hard as it's been, not just for myself, but for, again, everything that I mentioned earlier. Your family, your friends, your future family, your employees, people that you work with, people that you can take care of, strangers on the planet that need your help, orphans, people that you can donate money to, churches, meals. Like my friends and I now, whenever we play pickleball, we play for meals that, if someone loses, they have to donate 500 meals to someone. Like, it's things like that happen when you have an internal locus of control. Okay? So I want you guys to know that. Have a great week. It's Monday here. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.